The story begins when the hero speaks about what his father always said, which was, live for the clan. He recalled this while they were in the midst of a battlefield. It meant that he should not wish for anything, and that he should just stay by his brother's side like a shadow. He was kneeling while blood trickled down his face. Several knights watched him while one person remarked how he, a single knight, battles the continent's mightiest leaders alone. The battlefield was surrounded by fallen knights, but a commander and several knights who could still fight encircled him. The enemy's leader called him by his name, Canon Vert. In reply, he muttered the commander's name, Boris. Boris had a smug expression on his face. Out of nowhere, Canon pulled out his sword. He then asked Boris who forced him to do this to him, and a dark aura surrounded his body. He questioned Boris if it was the Emperor. Boris shielded his face with his arm. He noted that Canon's black fog was nauseating. Upon seeing this power, he confirmed that it was like what the rumors had claimed. Canon's aura grew stronger while Boris called him a killer from Mist. Mist is a group that is like fog to the Knights of Light. Boris planned to tell the higher-ups that he eliminated an impure being tied to the heathens. Canon responded that he should do that when he actually had the mouth left to work after their fight. He warned Boris that he wouldn't even have a single tooth after he was done with him. Boris suggested to Canon that if he plans to use his hidden power, he should surrender. He told Canon that there is a 9th-star magic barrier cast around the area. In his mind, Canon knew that he needed to escape and expose the culprit behind it to his brother. With fierce eyes, Canon declared that he'd just break through the barrier. All of a sudden, Canon was ordered to stop by someone. A respected man in golden armor arrived. Canon was shocked and confused to see this familiar person. He remembered what his father always used to say, live for the clan. In addition, his father told him that his brother Asel is an extension of the clan. Asel Vert's success is Canon Vert's success. This man in golden armor had blonde hair and was staring at Canon. Canon realized the culprit behind all of it. It was Asel. This discovery made his legs weak. Asel commented that Canon was puzzled now that he had appeared. Canon looked at him. He asked Asel about the meaning of all of it. Asel expressed how Canon carried out his duties well for the clan, for the people, and for him. Upon hearing this statement, Canon knew what was going to happen next. Asel added that he was just trying to ease the burden off his brother's shoulder. Canon admitted that he didn't understand it. He asked if he had done anything wrong. Asel pointed out the ominous fog that Canon was emitting. He described Canon as nothing more than a murderer. He was even unsure if his brother could still be called human. Asel raised his voice when he told Canon that he deceived them all for a long time. With a hint of anger, he asked Canon, "Can you really say that you don't know your sins?" The words murderer and sin echoed in Canon's head. This made him furious as he wondered what the heck Asel was talking about. The succession fight within the Empire, the Demon King's army raids, the war to unite the continent. Canon helped Asel through all of that, all because serving his brother was his life. He struck the ground in anger. Our hero slowly stood up. He thought about how Asel was now abandoning him. A dark aura was now seeping from his body. Driven by his rage, his fog became more intense as he thought about how he labored like a servant under Asel for 20 years. Blood started pooling at his feet, but he didn't care if his whole body collapsed. He decided to give everything he had right now, even if it meant he could destroy Asel. His crimson-red mist covered the entire area, painting the sky red. The knights were stunned to see that he still had that much mana left. It was impossible for a human. Canon narrated that the hero was trying to kill his younger brother just because he was scared. He asked Asel if he wasn't ashamed of himself. This made Asel furious. The veins on his face became visible because of that. Canon charged at him with incredible speed. He continuously attacked Asel, who tried to block using a sword. Canon wished for one chance, just once was enough. Their fight continued. One chance was all he needed to stab Asel's weak point to stop him from regenerating. Canon's attack met a magic barrier. Our hero did not expect his strongest strike to be stopped by something like this. He checked and saw that Boris helped Asel. Asel called him a poor fool and stabbed Canon in the stomach. That made Canon drop his dagger. Asel told him that he wanted to do the favor of giving him a painless death since he was his brother, but Canon showed his true nature. He revealed that he knew Canon was a demon from the start. He added how it was a good thing he never trusted Canon to begin with. Canon's expression revealed how heartbroken he was because of that statement. Asel kicked him to remove the sword from Cannon's body, and just like that, he left Cannon lying on the ground. Cannon's blood pooled underneath him. This scene looked like Sung Jin Woo from Solo Leveling. He wondered if that was his end. He remarked on how foolish the life he had lived was as he slowly started to lose consciousness. He called himself stupid, yet all of a sudden he chased after Asel's back. Asel sensed him and turned. Cannon was about to hit him. Cannon let out a loud scream as he released all his remaining power for that attack. His dagger was inches away from Asel's throat, but he was interrupted by a powerful force that blew him away. He lost consciousness, then he heard somebody calling him, "Young Master Cannon." He immediately woke up. He was sweating heavily and catching his breath. The maid scolded him for oversleeping. She told him to pull himself together, since he needed to get ready. He was surprised to see Emily. He asked her what she was doing there. Emily was also surprised, and then he realized something. It had been 20 years since he last saw her, and yet she looked the same as when he last saw her. He noticed the surroundings. He remembered that it was the room he used to live in when he was younger. Even the furniture arrangement was the same, and he thought that maybe he went back to being a child. Emily called him to get his attention. She asked him if he was stalling because he didn't want to go to training. She instructed him to make up his mind and get moving. The young Cannon had no idea what Emily was talking about. He asked what training she meant. In the Vert clan duchy, Cannon looked around, and he was certain that he was back in the duchy of the past. He wondered if the situation was what they call life flashing before your eyes just before death. He remembered 27 years ago. It was during the Foundation year 985, March 1st. It was a year before he entered the academy. Every year the duchy holds a duel training session. His father, who is the owner of the duchy, Duke Vert, attends the event, making it a very big deal. His opponent was Cran Vert. He was the same age as Cannon and was his half-brother. Cran's mother, Margaret Izette, was the Duke's wife. Thanks to that, Cran received a lot more attention, despite the fact that they were both the youngest. Cannon was considered a bastard son, and after being mocked in that fight, he became a laughingstock to everyone. The duel was the reason why his father stopped paying attention to him too. Emily whispered and suggested that he should give up. Young Cannon assured her that it was okay and he just needed to win. In his head, Cannon took that as the maid looking down on him. Cannon sensed something. His weapon, a rapier, was heavy. He figured out his strength was the same as when he was that age. The sensation felt like it was not from a dream nor a memory of his life flashing before his eyes. He had never heard of a magic spell capable of creating such strong illusions either. He wondered if he was really back in the past. Cran commented how his brother didn't run away from the duel. Cannon thought that this could be his chance to change the future. He looked at his father, who declared the start of the match. Cran attacked first while asking him where he was looking. Cran was confident that he would hit him with his sword. Cannon stood there and watched him. He thought how Cran was like a turtle. He shifted his stance, and that made Cran surprised. Basically, Cannon just took a step to move to the side, and Cran missed hitting him. This triggered Cran. He remarked how Cannon was dodging like a coward. But before Cran could do anything further, Cannon hit his hand and Cran's sword flew. Then Cannon kicked him on the shin. Cran was in pain. He fell to the ground and hugged his knees while groaning loudly. His mother yelled out his name in worry. Cannon thought that now, if he just put his sword on Cran's throat, the duel would be over. He gripped his sword as he thought that wasn't enough. He recalled that when he was that age, Cran always bullied him as a form of fun, and that bullying continued in the academy too. So Cannon thought that he needed to really crush him so that he could never try to do anything like that to him again. Cannon decided that in that life he would carve a path on his own for himself. Cran got terrified. Tears were streaming down his face. Cran was in pain. The result of the duel was that Cran lost. The Duke ordered Cannon to see him and even freed up a schedule, which made Cannon wonder if his victory in the duel was really that impressive. He even had a high-class knight, Ellen, who was directly tied to the Duke, escorting him. He met Margaret Izette in the hallway. It looked like she had talked to the Duke about her son. Cannon grinned when he saw that she looked like she had stepped in filth. He asked her if Cran was okay. She was furious. She told him that he was bold to ask such a question after beating his brother like that. She told him that he was shameless. He passed by her while saying that it's how duels are. Then he heard her say, "This is why bastards shouldn't be treated like legitimate children." With a wicked grin, Margaret Izette continued to say that like mother, like son, and that his mother was a filthy woman. She told him that he should be on the streets begging for food instead. He was daring to put up a fight when he should have just known how to be grateful. Cannon looked back at her with murderous intent. She had crossed the line. He pondered if he should just kill her. But he stopped himself, a grin flashed on his face. He knew better than anyone how to make her hurt. He planned to torment her slowly, like painstakingly slowly. He asked her if she was aware that he was going to the academy along with Cray. She asked him what his point was. Then he said, "I'm sure you want your son to graduate with limbs, right? I guess you're not that worried about him, huh, Duchess?" This angered her even more. She was about to slap him while calling him a vulgar piece of Yolan's arm protected C. Yulin apologized to the Duchess. He explained that the Duke called Sion urgently, so they had to leave. With a stern expression, he told the Duchess that they would get going. The Duchess remained silent. The Duke's orders were absolute. San peeked from Olenk's back and chuckled. He was being shielded by the guard knight who was given that order, a knight who wouldn't yield even to the Duke's wife. He thought of how Yulin was kind and dependable. The door opened and the Duke told them to come in. C entered the room. He greeted the Duke. In his mind, he recalled that it had been almost 15 years since they had met one-on-one. Duke Willis Vert was the great feudal lord of Vus, a western feud of the Usi Empire. The world called him by a different name, the guardian of the continent. He was the hero who halted the invasion of demons for a long time with the help of his remarkable magic power and otherworldly wisdom. That man shouldered a duty no one forced on him until his very death in battle against the invasion of the Demon King's army. All he wanted was peace across the entire continent. But Kanan's memories of him were different as a man who used his free will to choose to live his whole life serving others. For saying he was a foolish man. The Duke commented how San's eyes closely followed the sword and dodged it. Kanan was puzzled. The Duke explained the scene. When Cray ran at him, he looked straight at the path of the swinging sword and turned his body to avoid it. The Duke asked him when he learned how to wield a sword. S thought that, as always, the Duke was sharp. He answered that he wouldn't say he learned it, he revealed that he practiced every night on his own. The Duke pressed him for details since the Duke knew that Sion never had any interest in swordsmanship. He asked Sion why he hid such great skills. Kian was embarrassed when he answered that he didn't want to attract others' attention. But the Duke was not convinced, since despite that reason, Kian went all out at defeating crayons. The Duke continued to speak. He asked Kian if he also thought that what he did after was unnecessary. The Duke was talking about Kian kicking crayons on the ground. Kian thought that the intention of the Duke behind the question seemed pretty probing. He wondered if the Duke was trying to gauge what he was capable of. Kian admitted that he wanted to prove himself. The Duke asked him what he wanted to prove. Kian confidently replied that he wanted to prove that he was better than Kron, even though they shared the same blood. He concluded that it was the purpose of the duel. The Duke laughed. The Duke praised him for his clear and brief answer that showed off his level-headedness. He didn't know C was so skilled. He was delighted. The Duke told him that he would become a great and trustworthy support for Ashel one day. Sean then felt the betrayal from his past life. He was confused and disappointed. He wondered why he would become Ash's helper. He thought how it was always the same. The Duke was still obsessed as ever with Ashel. His hand turned into a ball of fists. The Duke told him that he wanted to reward him, so if there was anything he wanted, he should just tell him. With sharp eyes, Sion decided that he'd ruin everything that Ashel tried to do. He told the Duke what he wanted. A few moments after that, Emily turned pale when she found out that Zan wanted to join the battlefront. He told Emily that nothing was certain yet. Emily asked him if he was losing his mind, or if he had any idea what kind of place that was. She told him that it was filled with wicked and scary demonic beasts all over the place. Vus, the western feud of the Usif Empire, was the only place in the entire continent to be called a battlefront. Even in that, the Lima Valley, which could be called the front line, was a fierce battlefield where the battles with demons had been going on for hundreds of years. Because of that, the Duke, who firmly opposed it from the start, gave Kian a condition: he was to become worthy of going to Lima Valley within 1 month. He didn't know on what basis the Duke would decide his worth, yet he thought of building his physical strength as much as possible in the given time. He was aware that he was still weaker than his peers, but he also appreciated that he was fortunate enough to have the same combat sense as he had before regressing, and the small amount of magic he sensed from within him. He knew that if he trained his body as per his ability, he could definitely make good use of it. He decided to start training right away. All of a sudden, his door burst open. A woman entered the room. It was Alice. This lady had blue hair and a stern look on her face. She grabbed him by the collar. Emily greeted Lady Alice, but Alice was shaking Cannon back and forth and asking him if he'd gone mad. She heard that he asked their father to send him to the battlefront. Sion turned pale when he asked Alice to let him go. She dropped him on the ground. Sion's soul looked like it left his body. Alice commented that beating Cray got into Sion's head. She uttered that it wouldn't do, so she demanded that Canyon go to the rooftop at once. At the rooftop, Alice briefed him. She told him that when they drew their swords, she would let him go to the battlefront if he could endure her attacks for 3 minutes. RMC asked Alice if she really had to go that far. Alice was firm. She demanded him to answer one question. She inquired if Kanan was after the family's title. Internally, C was surprised that she was going that far, for that reason. He didn't even have the slightest interest in that. Alice assumed that his silence meant yes. She instructed him to draw his sword. Sen was exasperated. It hadn't been half a day since his duel with Cray. He concluded that his whole day was chaotic. Alice proceeded to attack him. He did not expect that, but he was able to block her attack, which surprised Alice because that would have been impossible for a 10-year-old. Sion pondered if she really planned to go all out against her brother, who was 7 years younger than her. Alice stepped back. She was processing what happened. A rapier has a very light blade, yet Kanan cleanly parried off her longsword's attack. She wondered if he just got lucky. She told him that he had better intuition than she thought. He knew from Alice's expression that he was in trouble. Alice went all out on her next attacks. She leapt to attack him, but Kanan was able to block her sword using his rapier. More than that, he was able to slide his sword well so that he was able to position it parallel to her throat. Alice was taken aback. Sion was struggling. He shifted his blade, but Alice blasted him away. He landed atop the pillar. Breathing heavily, he thought about how the situation could go wrong. Had he not twisted his blade midway through, he would have killed her. Mist's swordsmanship skill, thick fog, mostly consists of abilities meant to keep immediately. Sion admitted to himself that it's tough to fight without killing because his power is lacking. He wondered how much time was left. He's compensating for his weak power by imbuing the blade with his energy, but he's almost at his limit. Alice was breathing heavily too. She called the earth and wind to come to her and act as her blade. Sion was surprised to witness the 6-star magic. Alice's sword glowed blue. This is called the Aqua Blade, with a funny-looking crying expression. Sion wondered if Alice was trying to slay him. Alice kept muttering that she can't lose. Sion could tell by the look in her eyes that it would be the end of him since he's positioned on the edge. He anticipated that he'll fall even if he were to block her attack. He decided to trust that his plan will work. With incredible speed, he charged at her first. He ran fast while Alice pointed her sword toward the sky to focus her energy. Kion gripped his blade as he begged, hoping someone would appear. In his mind, Sion hoped for Yulin to show up. When Alice and Sion were about to hit each other, Yulin appeared in the middle, screaming, "Stop!" He blocked Alice's sword with his blade while he grabbed Sion at the back of his neck. Alice's attack caused a huge explosion. Yulin had a serious expression on his face when he called, "Lady Alice." He told her that she's being harsh against a much younger opponent. Kion, still dangling from Yulin's hand, let out a sigh of relief. He kept wondering when Ellen would appear. As if she came out of a trance, Alice gasped and immediately hugged her brother while apologizing. She admitted that she must have lost her mind for a second. Then she cried. Snot came out of her nose. She expressed how much she wanted to stop him from going to the battlefield. Sion smiled and thought how it's very much Alice to do that. She always tries so hard with everything. Alice was the best of the best, who got an A in all subjects in the Royal Academy where all the talented children gathered, whether they be skilled in swordsmanship, magic, or other fields of study. On top of that, her beauty was stunning, so people called her God's child. From a young age, she was trained in swordsmanship. She was mentioned as being the future protector of the continent along with the oldest son, Asel Vert. But not long after joining the Knights of Light, she was killed. Sion hugged her back while thinking of how much he missed her. His hug was so tight that it got Alice's attention. In his head, he vowed to shield her this time. Then she turned her attention to Yulin. She asked if he was the Duke's guardian knight. She was confused since the Duke just left for the war. Yulin informed her that he's carrying out the Duke's orders to protect the young master for a while, although he couldn't tell her because he's supposed to do it in secret. Kion felt his presence ever since he left the Duke's office. He wondered if Yulin would have not shown himself if he continued to not notice him. He wondered why his father would tell Yulin to follow him secretly all of a sudden. Sion felt sleepy. Alice caught him as he fell asleep. Alice smiled and commented that he's still a little kid. The next day, Alice returned to the academy. Apparently she had come back just for a bit to see their father before her graduation. Sion felt the need to become stronger, so he had been focusing on strength training for the past 2 weeks, but 10 push-ups is his limit. He felt like he hit a wall for the past 2 weeks. Back then, he was pretty confident in his power. He knew this time he needed a solution. Emily knocked on his door to inform him that a package from Emily had arrived. Sion got excited. Emily brought it out and complained how it smelled so bad. It's a hellhound's blood that he asked her to get for him. It's a rare item that can only be found in Lamia Valley, but now he figured out that the rumors that it was in the black market were true. The blood of demonic beasts is considered poisonous because of its sickening smell, as well as the feeling of burning upon drinking. But it actually permanently boosts the energy and power of the person who drinks it. Most people think that it was a false rumor, but Sion knew that it's true based on his past life experience. Emily asked him if he's really going to drink it. He answered yes. In his mind, Emily has nothing to worry about since he's the only person who was able to adapt to her cooking skills. He chugged it down. He was reminded of the first time he remembered it was mushroom soup, and after a single bite, his heart stopped for a moment. Compared to that soup, the blood is nothing. He finished everything and commented that it was good. The power was flowing from his body. He told Emily that he's going out for a walk. He wanted to see if it worked. Our hero stepped outside. He arrived at a mountain overlooking the city. It had been a while since he last came there. He had been waiting for it for the last 2 weeks. It was the time when Yulin was not there for his regular reports. He usually visits the place when he wants to be alone. Then one day Asel received a holy message from the god of light, Lumel. It said that an ancient temple is hidden somewhere in the mountains. He didn't really fully believe it, but there was really a place where the flow of energy was concentrated, and of course the holy message is yet to come. Only Sion knew about it at the moment. He touched the ground with his hand, and his power traveled in the area. He grinned as he thought how Asel had no idea what he's doing right now. The ground was broken, and it revealed an underground passage. He decided to go inside. He observed that it was unlike the last time he visited. That place was an old temple that honored the god of light Lumel until all the history of that land was wiped out. It was due to the god of demon war that occurred 300 years ago. Who could have ever guessed that the place stood in the hills just behind the fortress? In front of him was a shining sword on a stand. It was regarded as the master of the temple. In 9939, before the foundation, on August 12th, humanity finally managed to push back the Demon King's army from Vus. The Demon King's army was much stronger than the humans, but the humans discovered ancient artifacts called the God's Weaponry, allowing them to gain the upper hand. One of those relics, Durandike, was a sacred sword blessed by the god of light, Lumel. The sword was considered the primary reason for humanity's triumph against the demons. And Sion will face his tragic end in the future because of that sword, which will be wielded by Asel Vert. He pondered the idea that perhaps Durandike had something to do with his return to the past. He touched the sword, and as he anticipated, nothing occurred. He kicked the sword in irritation. He grumbled that it spoiled his mood. He scoffed, saying, "Holy sword, my foot." He decided to handle his task and then depart. Little did he know, the sword was also vexed. Once he steps past the light, there's a shadow that feels strange. Kanan spotted it. At first look, it appeared like a sword's shadow, but it was not a shadow. Where there is light, there must be darkness too. He infused it with his energy. It unveiled a passage that leads to another chamber hidden by the altar of light. Our hero opened the door. He saw his sword glowing red on top of the stand. He told his sword that it was great to see it. Kayan seized his sword. It was the demonic sword, Kamam, the same sword he was using before he perished. The moment he grasped it, it emitted a mighty ominous aura. He murmured, "Good morning, Kamam." But there was no reply, so he wondered if it was still not awake. Still, Xian was thrilled. The familiar sensation to him was the greatest, making him want to strike something right there and then. Then a shadow with piercing eyes appeared on the floor. It asked Kayan if he had no fear. Kamam questioned if he didn't know what it meant to have roused him. Kayan casually replied that he didn't know, and it could be that it meant the sword is his now. The shadow grew larger and threatening. It told Kayan that since he awakened a demonic sword, it was too late to feel sorry now. The shadow smirked, revealing several sharp teeth. It charged toward Kanan, claiming that Kanan's body would be taken by him, but Kamam was shocked that Kayan easily choked him. Kayan told him that he wasn't that weak before. The shadow began fading, showing a human face. Kamam wondered how Kayan could grab him. As if in response, Kanan repeated that the sword is his. Kamam had pink, long, sharp nails. It attacked Cyan with them while yelling, "Get lost!" Cyan lost his hold and Kamam jumped backward. When Kamam was fully exposed, it turned out she was a woman. She asked Cyan who he was. She could see a dark aura around him. She asked if he was the heir. She wondered why she could sense Arunk's aura from him. Cyan answered that she's correct, and that he is the heir of Arunk. He wore a wicked grin and told her that her lord is back. He ordered her to kneel. He called her demonic sword Kamam. Kamam rejected him, saying that he's just a boy. She couldn't accept it. They battled each other. Cyan realized that words weren't enough. The demonic sword's ultimate aim is to possess the body of the user, leaving him no option. He planned to go gentle on her, but then Cyan smirked and triggered demonic sword control. Suddenly, Kamam was being yanked to the ground, and the force made her moan. Cyan told her that he would only say it once. He asked why she wouldn't acknowledge him as her own while he's still being kind. She clenched her teeth as she asked him how he could wield that power. He activated demonic sword control again, smashing her face into the ground. He did that repeatedly. Her entire head was already buried deep in the earth. Cyan asked if she was ready to accept now. Kamam replied that she yielded, yet she called him human. Kanan was about to trigger demonic sword control again, but he paused when Kamam corrected herself and called him master. Now that he had dealt with his task in that place, Cyan wondered if it was time for him to return since he had been away for too long. Kamam, in sword form, said that it had been ages since she felt fresh air. She released herself from the sword. She looked like a black balloon with eyes, mouth, and pink hair. She was joyful to say that she found it refreshing. She asked for her master's name. Cyan gave his full name. She remarked that she had never heard that name before. Once again, she asked if Arunk truly picked a boy like him. Cyan answered, "Yes, in my past life." That puzzled Kamam. Cyan explained that he died once before. In her mind, Kamam thought, "What the heck?" Then she noticed something. They were in front of the other sword. She commented how it was still sleeping. Cyan remarked that the sword would have to wait 20 years for its owner. Kamam noted that Cyan spoke as if he knew the future. He grabbed his sword and took a stance. Out of nowhere, he sliced the handle of the sword in front of them. Kamam was stunned. She asked him what he planned to do with it. He had a sly grin on his face. He said that it could make things a bit more exciting in the future. The carriage can be seen moving away from the castle as the sun sets. It then slowed down until it stops. Kion is wearing a shield on his chest. He couldn't believe the day had already arrived. He thought about how time passes quickly. Sion greeted the Duke upon his arrival. The Duke told him that it would be the final time he would ask him. He asked if Sion is still determined to go to the battleground. He told Sion that if he wanted to withdraw now, he wouldn't stop him. With confidence, Sion declared that he's sure, since his heart already belongs at the battleground. The Duke instructed Yulin to open what he held. Yulin is holding a scroll. Kion recognized that it was a magic scroll. He wondered if they're calling something. Yulin released the magic scroll, and a creature with flames on its body appeared before them. This creature's paws have sharp claws. It was a hellhound, a low-ranked demonic beast from the Lamia Valley. Sion thought that his father and the knights must have had a tough time preparing for the test. The knights placed their hands on their swords. Sion had noticed that and thought how the knights are ready to step in when it becomes risky. The Duke told him that he's responsible for his actions. The Duke urged him to prove how strong his determination is by passing the trial and showing it to them. Yulin thought about this challenge. He tightened his grip on his sword. He recalled the time when Kion invited him for a duel. That time, Sion explained that there were only 3 days left until the deadline of his promise to his father. He thought that he couldn't just keep swinging his blade in the air. He told Yulin that he wanted to feel a real fight too, so he asked him to assist him. Yulin was reluctant, so he suggested that Sion duel with someone his age, like the young Master Cran. Sion explained that for some reason, Cran runs away whenever he sees him. In his mind, Yulin thought it was a bother. Yulin eventually agreed. He informed Kion that he would only fight with his sword's sheath and that he would only focus on defense, so he encouraged Sion to attack him as much as he wanted. Sion thanked Yulin. He told him that he had another request to make. The mood changed, and with a serious look on his face, he told Yulin that whatever happens in the duel, Yulin should not tell the Duke about it. He stressed that it was an order, which confused Yulin. Kion attacked him. Yulin was able to block it with his blade, but he felt that the strike was heavy. He couldn't believe that it came from a 10-year-old sword. Before he could return to his stance, our hero attacked again. He also noticed how fast Sion moves, and he was surprised when suddenly he was out of sight. He wondered where Kion vanished, and then he sensed him behind. He was able to defend just in time. Sion attacked him repeatedly. He truly took this duel seriously. Our hero gave his utmost when striking, but all of it was blocked by Yulin. He admitted that, as he thought, he couldn't defeat him yet. He thanked Yulin for his effort. Yulin's breathing became quick and shallow. He praised the young master in his mind. He couldn't believe that the frail young master Kion had grown so much. Back to the present moment, Yulin thought that his instinct was correct. The young master could overcome the challenge. The hellhound moved swiftly. Sion predicted its attack. It roared loudly as it neared him. Its eyes were fixed on Sion. It rushed past Sion. Sion understood that, with his current power, fighting a monster is still too hard. He knew he had to finish the battle as fast as possible. The hellhound prepared to strike again, but Sion had planned to slay it with his next move. He took a fighting stance, and when the hellhound charged at him, he aimed for its neck. He jumped high in the air and stabbed its skull with his blade. The knights couldn't believe their eyes. The Duke was pleased. Sion looked at the body of the hellhound. It was bleeding heavily from its neck. He thought that it was a pity, since that much blood could fill several bottles. But if he did something like that right there, people would think that he's insane. The Duke clapped as he praised Sion for being remarkable. He told Sion, "Then I'll see you at the battleground." Sion thanked his father. Karum appeared as a small puff of smoke on his shoulder. She fiercely asked him if she looked like a kitchen knife to him. Sion calmly answered, "Of course not. You're a demonic blade. Why would you say that?" Karum replied, "Then use me, darn it!" She shouted that she needs blood to grow stronger. She looked at the body and stuck her tongue out while begging to be allowed to have one sip. Kion told her not to worry, and with deadly intent, he told her that soon he would use her to his heart's content. He told her to look forward to it. Karum grumbled that he should have just woken her up during that time then. After a while, an ogre appeared in the northwest. The Duke ordered them to set up a line of defense and defeat the ogre immediately. He told everyone to leave no one alive. The knights shouted to begin the restraint of salvation. A bright yellow mark in the air lit up the area. A magic circle formed beneath the ogres, and restraints emerged from that circle, immobilizing the ogres. The Duke instructed the knights to attack. They cut up the ogres in the area. The ogres roared loudly, but the knights bravely did their task. They easily sliced down the ogres. Meanwhile, Sion was mounted on a horse watching them, while Emily behind him was terrified. She cried rivers of tears as she asked the young master why he wanted to come to a place like that. Deep inside, Sion felt nostalgic. The Duke asked him how it feels to be on the front lines. Kanan admitted that he's a bit anxious. The Duke told him that, as he had noticed, he will never know when he will die in a place like that. He advised him to never let his guard down. He replied that he will remember that. He knew that in the front lines, situations like that are common. There are usually 3 or 4 battles a day, and every battle has its own detailed response guide, with the skilled knights as the core, handling all the creatures that try to cross the front lines. At the base camp, he had noticed that the team he was assigned to is in the safest area, where it's the most secure, with the guards in the area being disciplined. He couldn't see a chance to feed Karam. He wondered if he had to wait until supper time. He noticed Emily shaking under the blanket. She said, "Didn't the Duke tell us?" She continued that we won't know when and where we would die. Seon asked why she won't pack up and leave. She yelled loudly, "Do you think I can when you can't even do anything without me?" With a slight hint of irritation, she told him that with the creatures all over the place, if she ran away, who would look after him? She told him to move since it's already time to eat. Sion asked her about the cape that he requested, but Emily just left him in the tent without saying a word. Sion was holding back his frustration, but he wondered what would happen if he just sent her away. He couldn't believe that's how she treated her master. Later that night, Sion placed a doll that looked like him in bed. He covered it in a blanket. It looked like he was sleeping on the bed. He thought that was enough cover. Emily asked him if he plans to train even in that place. He answered yes, and asked if he woke her up. Her eyes were still closed as she praised him for being hardworking. She added that the Duke would be proud of him if he were to find out. He put on his hood and told her that he will be going. He asked her to handle things as usual. As he was about to leave the tent, he told her that he was asleep. Seon knew that since they are on the front lines, the guard duties are strengthened. He ran as fast as he could. If he didn't take that chance, moving around freely would be tough. He used his skill, Thick Fog 3, Fog's Descent. He's relying on his memory and went to a place with lots of creatures. It was the perfect place to use Karam. Karam got thrilled over the strong scent of blood. She told her master that she doesn't think she can hold back. She urged him to hurry so she could slice something down. Several hellhound creatures attacked them. Sion agreed with her and promised her that they would do as she wanted. Sion and Karam easily cut down the creatures. They were clearly enjoying this bloodbath. Sion activated Fog Sword, rushing Fogstorm, and he sliced down several creatures while moving like a whirlwind. A few moments had passed. He stuck a tube in the creature's corpse. A mug waited at the end of the tube. He drained the blood through this method and then he drank the fresh blood. He looked like a lunatic when he said, "This is the stuff." Karam was delighted too. She commented that it's the first time she felt so refreshed after waking up. Sion told her that they will keep practicing like that. She asked him how long he thought it would take for them to get stronger by killing those beasts. Little did they know, several hellhounds gathered behind them. He sensed the creatures. He assured Karam not to worry since the night is young, and there are plenty of creatures. Karam was getting thrilled. Ogres, hellhounds, giant crocodiles, you name it. That same night, a carriage escorted by several knights was traveling in the mountains. A girl with silver hair was inside the carriage. Someone could be heard saying that the front line is too risky. The woman inside the carriage with the girl suggested that they go back. The girl told her not to treat her like a child. She told her that she's the royal princess of the empire. With a hint of irritation, she asked her how many times she must remind her that she's bound to her duty to help her father in his tours. She warned her that she will get angry if she mentions it again. The woman replied that she understood and then changed the topic with news, saying that the youngest son of the Verret family is on the front lines. She added that he should be around the same age as her. The princess was surprised to hear that Duke Verret brought his youngest son. Her attendant told her that the Duke wasn't really planning to bring the kid, yet the kid volunteered himself. Since they are the same age, the attendant suggested that the princess and the kid should get along. The princess acted as if this didn't interest her. She ended the conversation by saying that she would go to sleep. The attendant respected her wish. After a few heartbeats, the princess asked for the kid's name. The attendant replied that it's Kanan Verret. She repeated the name and took a mental note of it. The face of the princess was then revealed. Waifu candidate number 1 was found. A beast was cut to its demise. The Duke ordered to check if anyone was hurt. It was told to the Duke that all were fine. The Duke commended them for their tough effort and told everyone to return. The Duke glanced around. He had seen the one who slew the final flying beast, which was Sion. The Duke asked Sion how he was settling into the battle lines. Sion politely replied that he was gaining new knowledge daily. It wasn't what the Duke anticipated, as he thought Sion would wish to rush back. He noted that his son had persisted for quite a while now and said he was proud of Sion. That surprised Sion off guard. Before the Duke departed, he told Sion he had something to discuss tomorrow, so he wanted him to visit his tent early in the morning. Sion was shocked, as he had never witnessed his father's warmth before. The night arrived, and it had a spooky vibe. A creature with a lengthy form emerged from underground. Luckily, Kanan was swift on his feet, so he dodged it. It was a deathworm, huge, with the end of its body full of sharp fangs. It typically shows up deeper in the valley. Karam said her master must be struggling, so she offered to take charge instead. But Cayenne wasn't naive, as he knew her tricks. Kum denied that was her aim. She vowed to use it briefly, then let him regain control. The deathworm's body had some mist on its rough surfaces. Kayam pointed out that the deathworm quickly heals any minor wounds, so attacking it would be futile. Sion knew she was correct and might need to fight endlessly at that pace. It had been a month since Sion went to the battle lines. He had consumed the blood of many fiendish creatures, but he felt it still wasn't sufficient. The deathworm struck him, and Kanan thought he had no option. He chose to go along with whatever Kum was scheming for now. Kum got thrilled to unleash chaos. She activated Thick Fog, 9th form, Fiendish Blade Appearance. Kum decided to tear its tough hide with one quick motion. From Kum's move, the deathworm gained several wounds on its body. The deathworm bled. The next skill used was the Fog Blade, 8th Fluttering Petals. He moved very fast along the deathworm's body while slicing it. The deathworm was losing its power. Its blood drenched the area until its body was cut into bits. Meanwhile, the Duke's group examined a dead beast's remains and they noticed it hadn't been long since it was slain. Jochen saw that the aura was quite strong. He guessed it might have been done by a fiend. The Duke answered that they couldn't ignore it if a fiend was involved. He ordered everyone to search the area and burn the remains immediately. The Duke looked closely as the sword marks seemed familiar. He wondered if it was déjà vu. Then he was called by Ellen to see something. Yolen raised his torch to brighten the area. It was a dead deathworm. The Duke was stunned and curious about who could have killed a deathworm like that. This was the same deathworm our hero had slain. He thought it might be the group he knew of. Fiendish blade appearance let Kum take over Sion's body so she could use her full strength, but she could fully control Sion if he let his guard down. That's why Sion thought letting Kum defeat just one beast was actually crazy. He woke up feeling achy all over. He thought it was good he drank all that fiendish beast blood. A month ago, his body would have collapsed. Kum suddenly said she understood everything now. Sion couldn't grasp what she meant. She clarified that it was just Kanan's outer look that was youthful, but he didn't act or speak like one. Kum noticed his skill in handling her was too expert for a beginner. Plus, he knew the whole layout of the Lamea Valley, and his blade techniques were of mists, as if he had practiced for 30 years at least. Also, Sion revealed he had died once. That made Kum sure he was a regressor. Sion stared at her like she was silly. He asked if it wasn't clear when he said he had died before. He thought he made it obvious. Kum was stunned, then got angry and shouted how it was obvious when he hadn't explained a thing. Sion replied he was too idle to explain. Kum switched topics and said killing Sion must have been tough. She had theories about what happened to him. For example, he was slain by the owner of the Durandi Ark, and there were two options. He was either killed in a fight or betrayed. She had a strong feeling it was the latter. Sion asked why. She explained he looked at the holy blade like he stepped on filth. She'd be a fool not to notice. Then she concluded Sion's aim must be vengeance. She advised him that if she caught him wavering or failing, she'd take him over. He hit her head and told her to know her place, as he wasn't foolish. Kum was left dazed on the ground. In his mind, Sion noted she hadn't changed at all. She was just like in his past life. Sion then left the tent. He looked around and wondered what was happening as it seemed hectic. Emily greeted him quickly. He asked her if something occurred. Emily reported that powerful beasts were found near the valley's entrance. Sion was a bit anxious, thinking she might mean the death worm. Emily added it had been a while since a strong beast was seen near the camps. Sion asked if she knew anything else, which confused her. Then he asked if there were other sightings, like a suspicious person or something about Sion. But before Emily could reply, Oaken called the young master. He told our hero the Duke wanted to see him immediately. Sion was slightly nervous. He thought the situation was a hassle. Sion couldn't dispose of the bodies last night because soldiers appeared suddenly. He gritted his teeth, thinking his plan for a calm life before joining the academy would be ruined. He went to the Duke's tent and greeted him. He assumed his father would realize he was the one who killed the beasts. The Duke acknowledged his presence. Sion was worried he'd be questioned about yesterday's event. The Duke asked him to sit. Kan appeared serious and anxious as he awaited the K-Pa conversation. He was thinking hard about what sort of excuse he could create. The Duke had told him that he'd be direct. He bluntly asked Cayenne what he was doing last night. Cayenne answered that he went to sleep early because he was exhausted. The Duke found that dubious since the marks of the sword reminded him of Cayenne's sword technique. The Duke began to think he was just over-analyzing it. Cayenne asked why the Duke questioned him about that. The Duke was lost in his thoughts. He reasoned to himself that it was impossible for a child as young as Cayenne to kill a deathworm. Seeing that his father was distracted, Cayenne called his attention. His father assumed that he already knew about what happened last night. His father decided to investigate further, and he suspects it was the work of a secret group Mist. Our main character then acted as if this was the first time he heard about Mist. The Duke explained that Mist is an organization that has existed since ancient times. They don't know their aims, but they have murdered countless nobles under the pretext of purification. They're notorious for leaving behind a black fog wherever they go, but one day they vanished. They were last seen 100 years ago, but the body of the deathworm from last night was covered in black fog. Black fog is the trace left by Aru, the god of darkness, the very deity worshipped by Mist, and the source of their strength. The Duke had this belief that it was Mist that killed the deathworm and the other demonic beasts. Deep inside, Cayenne was amazed by his father for being able to identify the culprit, despite the group having been last seen 3 centuries ago. The Duke admitted they had no clue about the sudden return of Mist, so he advised Cayenne to be cautious. Nonetheless, the Duke planned to inform the Empire about this and look into it more. With that, Cayenne assumed his father had believed him. In his mind, the Duke thought it made no sense for Cayenne to be involved with such a group when he's so young. The Duke ended that topic. He went on to ask Cayenne if he knew who was visiting them today. Cayenne replied that he heard His Majesty would be visiting, but he didn't know it was today. The Duke asked him a favor regarding that. Cayenne was slightly nervous about the Duke asking a favor. A few moments later, the horn sounded, followed by the announcement that His Majesty the Emperor had arrived. All the knights, including the Duke, were on their knees as a sign of respect in greeting His Majesty. The Emperor excitedly called the Duke by his first name. His Majesty got off his horse, bent his knees, and tapped the Duke on the shoulder, telling him not to be so formal since they're old friends. When the Emperor saw Cayenne, he was neutral toward him. Cayenne greeted His Majesty and introduced himself. His Majesty commented that for a boy as young as Cayenne to be living in that kind of place was proof that the Duke's children are different from ordinary ones. Cayenne's silly face appeared when he thought of the favor the Duke had asked. He was scared at first, but it was just to present himself as the Duke's son. In his past life, Cayenne was always cooped up in the mansion when the Emperor visited. Now, Cayenne was deeply moved by his father's trust. His Majesty told them he wanted to introduce someone as well. A young lady stepped out of the carriage. She introduced herself as the 5th princess of the Yusuf Empire. Her name was Erin Seus. Cayenne recalled that she was the tragic 5th princess. A while ago, the Duke had trusted Cayenne to escort Princess Erin for the day. When the Duke told him that, he had no idea how to handle it. The Duke reassured him not to worry about anything, since all he had to do was keep her company. The Duke described the princess as the same age as Cayenne, and they'd be seeing each other more often when they enter the academy. Cayenne remembered seeing her in his past life between classes. The Duke told him there's no harm in getting to know someone from the royal family. The Duke expressed that they wanted him to get along. Internally, Cayenne really didn't want to do it, but he understood his father's intentions. The Duke probably hoped they would develop a friendship like the one the Duke has with the Emperor, but Cayenne thought the Duke picked the wrong person for it. Princess Erin can't be his friend. Although Cayenne couldn't say anything since it's a future only he knows, he found it bothersome, but decided to obey for now. He paid attention when Princess Erin started talking. The princess asked why the river is red. Cayenne checked if she was talking about the Blood River. Cayenne explained that it was a stream that flows through the entire Lamea Valley. There isn't any complicated reason why the water is red. The demonic beasts who are old or hurt and can no longer fairly compete with others for survival will instinctively leap into the Blood River. The demonic beasts' corpses and bodily fluids then dissolve into the river, turning it red from the decay by the mana. The princess had a shocked, silly expression after learning it's a river where all demonic beasts' bodily fluids and corpses are. Cayenne casually added that the demonic beasts drink and bathe in it. He told the princess it's very gross, so he advised her not to go in it. The princess had a revolted expression when she asked what was at the end of the river. Cayenne replied that it's the demon realm. The princess was extremely stunned. She wanted to confirm if it's really the place where demons live. Cayenne decided to tease her with a funny, mischievous grin. He told her that if she keeps following the river, she might even meet the Demon King. The princess was terrified. In his head, Cayenne knew no sensible person would do that, but he found it fun to tease her. All of a sudden, a bright light appeared that caught everyone's attention. The princess asked what it was. Cayenne explained it was the 3rd century post in the west. A yellow light means incoming demonic beasts. The princess was surprised to hear there are demonic beasts there. The Duke immediately gave an order to protect the Emperor, and the Guardian Knight Division troops would go with him to the 3rd century post in the west. The Emperor told the Duke not to be like that. The Duke was puzzled. The Emperor asked the Duke if he thought he was there for a stroll. He added that he was feeling bored and, to prove his point, the Emperor unsheathed his sword. The Duke sighed and accepted the Emperor's wishes. The Emperor ordered his knights to join the demonic beast raid. He commanded them to focus on slaying the demonic beasts until the raid was over. The Duke ordered Cayenne to join too, which Cayenne quickly agreed to. The princess asked him if he could fight the demonic beasts. Cayenne answered yes and shared that he's still assisting from the back. He told the princess to return to the shelter. Unexpectedly, the princess demanded to go with him. In his head, Cayenne wondered what the heck that kid was saying. The princess insisted they're the same age so she could come too. With a bored expression, Cayenne told her that people die in battle, and he stressed that it's not a playground. The princess did not back down with her demand. Cayenne was holding back his irritation when he called Yulin. Yulin appeared and said he would replace the royal knights and escort Her Highness to safety in camp. Yulin invited the princess to go. The princess looked at him as if she was intimidated. She pointed her finger at Cayenne and called him rude for daring to treat her, a princess, that way. Cayenne got closer to her, his eyes wide and his tone firm, when he told her that dozens of knights might die because of her stubbornness. He added that a split-second decision could determine her fate of either dying or surviving in a war. Being very intimidating, he asked her if she could take responsibility for all those lives. The princess became teary-eyed. When he was about to leave, he told her to go back if she was going to cry like a child. The princess, Yulin, and the maid were left standing there. The monsters were in the area, and it looked like a giant slime that swallowed several humans. The Duke ordered them not to retreat. When they were close to the monster, he instructed everyone to halt so they could return to formation. Then he commanded everyone to protect His Majesty and kill all the monsters, not sparing even a single one. In high spirits, everyone got moving. Dayan Saras, the emperor of the Yusuf Empire, had 2 wives. Diana Kiesel was the first wife, but she is now dead. Cassandra in Peace is the second wife and considered the main judiciary of the empire. The former empress gave birth to the first and second princess, and the current empress gave birth to the third prince and fourth prince. However, Aranceus, the fifth princess, was a bastard daughter born to some peasant mistress. People treated her like a scarecrow of a princess for her mixed blood, but she did not care about how others saw her. She fulfilled her duty as a part of the royal family and devoted herself to her studies more than anyone. However, she was framed for treason by those who hated her, and she was kicked out of the royal family in the empire. Rumors spread that she died alone from a sickness on an island. Because of that, people called her the tragic princess. She could have lived a happy life had she not been greedy. It would have been better for her to live without any ambition. Kum showed up and told Seon that it was what the Duke kept telling him about his past life. Seon explained that it's different since what the princess faced was royal politics. Lightning struck a monster. He watched several more lightning bolts from a distance. San commented that the emperor is a skilled person. The emperor had the ability called Holy Lightning. Several bolts struck the ground and killed the monsters. Emperor Diani is known to the public for being 8-star in magic rank. Had he not become an emperor, he probably would have been the Mage Association's head. Sen had a funny look on his face when he thought that an intermediate rank demonic beast is not a problem for the emperor. He also thought that being an emperor was just his hobby. After that short fight, an expensive liquor was served, and the emperor commented that it had been a while since he shared a drink with his friend Villar, but His Majesty felt quite lonely that he's the only one drinking. The Duke apologized and explained that he doesn't drink when he's at the front lines. The emperor said that he was reminded when the Duke asked him about the current mood in the empire. He shared that there had been a recent spike in assassinations of nobles and it's causing a lot of worry. The Duke asked if there's any pattern in those assassinations. The emperor replied, yes, all of the assassinated nobles were corrupt officials, plus Black Fog was present at all of the murder scenes. The emperor asked if the Duke had any idea. The Duke shared that he found traces of them at the battlefront. It seemed like the Mist followers have been on the move again. The emperor answered that it made sense, but he instructed the Duke to look into it more. The emperor said that he appreciated the Duke for taking care of the garbage, but he can't just sit by and watch as the people grow more anxious. The emperor shared that there's something else that concerns him. It was because some foolish noble was blabbering that everything was the fifth princess's fault. The Duke wanted to check if the emperor meant that there were people trying to tie Princess Erin to those incidents. The emperor shared that he suppressed them by shrugging it off as nonsense, but it seemed like there's a group that wants to use her. The emperor asked the Duke for a favor as a friend and not as an emperor. He told him that if he ends up dying before the Duke, he requested the Duke to take care of that child. Villarver responded that he will carry out His Majesty's orders to completion. The emperor thanked him. Later that day, rain started pouring down and everyone was inside their tent, including Emily, who was confused if that was everything. Sen asked her what more she expected. Emily stressed that it was a princess, and he left her just like that. Emily scolded him by saying that he won't ever get married if that went on in his mind. Sion thought that what he did wasn't even a date. He was about to leave and entrusted Emily to everything while he's gone. Emily asked if he's really going to train again when it's raining so hard. Sion assured her that it's fine. Little did he know that there's someone standing outside his tent. Emily was surprised when she saw it. She asked who it was. This girl removed her hood and asked Sion where he was going. It was Princess Erin, and she invited Sion for a chat if he was not busy. Emily was excited to see Her Highness. She looked like a fangirl. They went inside the tent. Outside, the royal knights guarded it. Princess Erin asked how long it had been since Sion got there. He told her that it had been a month. He asked her why she came to see him. Princess Erin hesitated to answer. She then asked if the maid could be excused for a while since she keeps staring with dopey eyes. Sion asked her to go outside for a bit. Emily went out, and her statement that they should have a good time together confused the two. Then she was fully gone. Funny enough, in his head, Sion thought that it was a big no to have a good time with a 10-year-old princess. Erin blushed as she apologized for what happened earlier. She admitted that her actions were unfitting of a princess. Sion assured her not to worry about it. He apologized for being rude to her. She laughed and said that she would have said the same thing if she was in his place. She commented that Sion is respected by a lot of people, unlike her, and he's a lot more mature. From her words, Sion understood her personality. Princess Erin asked if he's entering the academy too, and she was about to offer friendship, but before she could finish her sentence, Sion cut her off with an apology as he told her that he believes that he won't be any help to her. The princess was shaken to the core upon hearing that. Then Sion told her that if she's there to make friends, she should just leave. Princess Erin told him that she wanted them to be on good terms, and he's being harsh. Even with tears streaming down her face, she had a menacing aura as she asked him if he also thinks of her as a shell of a princess. Sion remained silent. Then Princess backed off by saying that she understood that there's no benefit in being friends with her. Then she apologized for wasting his time. She said that she was short-sighted for thinking that they could at least talk. Then she told him that he's completely different from Sir Ashel. That struck a nerve in Sion. It evoked certain feelings in him. He grabbed her arm. Princess Erin yelled what's wrong with him, but Sion had murderous eyes as he asked how she knew his brother. She explained that she got to know him when she was touring the Royal Academy last year, and he advised her not to care about what others think and that she should just fulfill her role as a princess. In his mind, Sion thought that as if it was advice, he knew that demonic bastard's personality better than anyone. Then he realized that it all had begun when his brother met Princess Erin. He was referring to the plan to bring down Princess Erin. Sion warned the princess, but their conversation got cut off with a loud noise. Immediately, Emily ran inside the tent. She told him to run, but the roof of the tent had already been broken, and then there was a loud impact from an attack. The knights cursed as they watched a gigantic ogre swing its bat-like weapon in the young master's tent. They hurried to check the condition of the young master. Emily saw the weapon that pierced the ground. Her tears fell as she was overwhelmed with worry. She loudly called out to the young master. The monster's features were then revealed. This one looked like a giant ogre.